MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. I am Gabriel Morency. We're in conversation with Reed Kuhn, Fightnomics.com's Reed Kuhn. We broke down the John Jones, Daniel Cormier tilt. Let's take a look at the co-main event. It was supposed to be Kat Zingano and Ronda Rousey, but of course, the theme of the last couple of years, injuries derailing cards. Nevertheless, I don't think too many people are going to be complaining about the fact that it's Cowboy Cerrone versus the young phenom in Myles Jury. And, you know, generally, I got to be honest, not to disrespect fighters that go through the process and live their dream, Reed, but, you know, past Ultimate Fighter, recent Ultimate Fighter winners have sort of fallen off the map and haven't had a big impact in the UFC, but Myles Jury's been awesome so far.
Yeah, undefeated. He's looked flawless since coming off the Ultimate Fighter, and it's kind of unexpected. I mean, he just keeps rolling through people and very much under the radar. At least a couple fights ago, he wasn't even ranked, and I think maybe Diego Sanchez was really the coming out party because that was a big name, and it just looked like an easy fight, and people realized, wow, this guy's, you know, he's up there. We need to actually test him. And then he knocks out Takanori Gomi, and all of a sudden people are thinking, well, this guy's a top 10 guy. What do we do with him? And the answer is Donald Cerrone. That guy will fight anybody. He fights so many times a year. This is a good matchup. Both top 10 guys, and I do think that one of these two guys could be fighting for a title a year down the line or towards the end of 2015, and that's what makes this pretty important. You know, it's too bad that we don't get a second title shot or title fight in this event, but seeing a rising number one contender is pretty good because the lightweight division, a lot of those names in the top five have already fought, and we got to figure out who's the next guy. You know, Dos Anjos is clearly up there. Nurmagomedov is up there. But there's kind of that next wave that we need to identify, and these two guys are both potential to be there.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because after seeing Cowboy Cerrone against Nate Diaz a little while ago, it wasn't even that long ago, he just fights every month it seems, but after seeing that, it seemed like, you know, he was tired that night, he was worn out, but it almost seemed like, yeah, he's the company guy that'll show up and fight, but he's not a legitimate title contender. He's a fan favorite, but not a contender. Yeah, I don't know if I compare Cowboy to Robbie Lawler, because I sort of thought the same thing about Lawler. Like, yeah, he's looking good, but is Robbie Lawler really going to become the champion? Is he? And yes, you know, Matt Brown, same thing. Matt Brown sort of climbed that ladder and went on a great run. And we're seeing that with Cowboy right now. Winner of 4 straight performance bonuses along the way. What I find interesting about this, and I'm sure you will as well, Reed, you're sort of a new school, you are a new school analytic guy. Myles Jury is a prototypical new UFC athlete. He believes in sports science. He believes in the diet. You know, he's into the Anthony Robbins stuff. He sees a sport shrink. He believes in thought patterns and biorhythms and visualization. Meanwhile, Donald Cerrone believes in hunting. You know what I mean? Like, Cerrone isn't going to see a sports. Like, I'd love to ask Cowboy about that and see him, like, roll his eyes. Sport shrink? I don't need a sport shrink. You know, the guy has fun in his life, but he's just born to do this in a cage. I find that so interesting because they're both so successful at what they do with two completely different approaches.
It's interesting. The numbers actually really support those two different personalities. I look at the numbers, and the thing about Myles Jury, his fight game is very, very efficient. It is very clean. He takes almost no damage. This guy's defense is about as good as it gets, as good as I've ever seen. He makes other people miss. They cannot hit him, and he just he's just more efficient. He's very clean. He outworks his opponent slightly, but really it's the efficiency of his game that's so good. Whereas Donald Cerrone, he gets hit a lot, actually. His defense is not that good, but he is so powerful and so dangerous with submissions and knockouts and head kicks. That's what defines Cerrone. He loves to fight, and he is very dangerous, and I can see it on paper, but he also takes a lot of risk, whereas Myles Jury does not take risk. And so when these two guys meet, that's going to be the thing. I think it's maybe Jury edging out rounds, but I don't think he's ever faced someone as dangerous as Cerrone. And so that threat of the submission, that threat of the knockout is going to be there because I think he's just at a different level now.
No, you're right. I agree with everything you're saying tonight, Reed, because it's true. You know, Gomi and Sanchez, those are his signature wins. Nice win against Michael Johnson too. But Sanchez and Gomi aren't what they used to be. You're right. He's never faced someone as aggressive, someone as fast, and somebody that looks to finish. But it's funny you say that because in my notes right here, I've got simply, Cowboy looks to finish. Will it cost him? Because I've noticed the same thing. And and Miles Jury, that's his approach about going in there and getting the win, doing what it takes to get the win. He really believes in that as opposed to not putting on a show. Meanwhile, Cowboy just really is looking to finish the fight as quickly as he can.
Yeah, and his efficiency is not so good because of that. And so his aggressive style, he gets finishes, but he also gets hit a lot. And I think that's also going to affect him on a round-by-round basis because judges, if it gets to the end of the round and no one's finished, I mean, they're going to be rewarding activity and damage taken and things like that. So this is a challenge for Cerrone. He is the favorite. His pedigree, his strength of schedule is certainly better than what Jury has faced. But you're right about Jury kind of being a next-generation type of fighter. Yet another intriguing matchup for stylistic reasons just to see what happens and how the fight evolves.
I hate picking against the Cowboy, but I got to do it, man. Jury plus 175. I'm going to take the young kid here. I'm going to take the upstart young gun at plus 175. We only got about a minute left here. We got Lombard and Berkman. Hector's a minus 500 favorite. And we got Tavares and Marquardt. Kind of an intriguing fight. Kind of strange in that, Tavares was on a roll, then he lost a couple of fights. He lost to Yoel Romero and he lost to Tim Boetsch, so no shame in that. Meanwhile, you got Nate Marquardt, who's on a 3-fight losing streak, when he comes off that surprising quick win against Tahuna. I can't lie, I'm not overly excited for this fight, but to me, it's a big fight for Brad Tavares. He better be able to win.
Well, and I admit some bias here. I know Nate Marquardt pretty well, and I do see that there is a massive mismatch on the mat. Marquardt is a very, very experienced. He's been in the sport a long time, and his ground game is phenomenal. And I couldn't believe when he was an underdog, a big underdog to James Tahuna, because the ground game was such a mismatch. And it didn't take long. He got the submission in the first round for the upset. I'm looking for the same thing here. I'm hoping that Marquardt finds a way to get this to the ground and he finishes this on the mat.
It's intriguing that you say that. Nate the Great's a minus 125, minus 130 favorite in this fight. Reed, great stuff as always, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight and throughout the season as well. Big things coming up here in 2015. We're going to be airing the UFC here, but we got a ton of monster fights coming up. I look forward to breaking them down with you. Thanks for the time, Reed.
All right, we'll see you on the flip side next year. Have a good one.
There's Reed Kuhn with us. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back with our final video of the year. And you know what? It's a pretty good one. A real good one, you limey bastard.